The idea is to eventually, once we get house number 2 paid off, to buy another property as a long-term rental or move out if we want to move and rent that one out, and basically just keep doing that process over and over again until we get about 5 or 6 properties by the time we retire, and that can be our income.
How would you like to own your home outright? What would it feel like to never make a mortgage payment ever again? On our mortgage-free segment today, we're going to interview Mike and Leslie Hermanson from Louisville, Kentucky. They recently paid off their mortgage, and they accomplished this feat not in their 60s, but in their 30s. We're going to find out how they did it and why they chose a mortgage-free life to begin with. Welcome to the show, Mike and Leslie.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, I like to start off these shows with the mortgage-free 3. So this is just some quick, fast information so people can understand what you've done with this mortgage payoff process. So let's start with the first one here. What was your starting mortgage principal balance?
It was 165.
It sounds about. She actually bought the house before we got married, so she knows the answer better than I do.
165.
There you go, 165. Awesome. Okay. And then how long did it take you to pay off 165?
From start to finish, it was 8 years.
8 years to the day, actually.
That is incredible. Awesome. Okay, and then what is the home value today? Because I know things have changed a lot in 8 years.
We don't know for sure, but it's definitely above 2.
I recently checked Zillow, and it said like 225.
225.
The housing market's crazy right now, so who really knows?
That's incredible. Okay, so you own $225,000 at a minimum outright.
Yes.
That is incredible. Okay, very cool. Well, let's talk about your motivation for wanting to do this wacky thing that a lot of people say, why would you do that? So let's talk about that. Why did you want to be mortgage-free?
It's probably more my motivation than Leslie's probably, but I just hate having monthly bills. Really, it's like basically, if you can reduce the amount you have to spend every month, you don't have to make that much every month. So it kind of just relieves a lot of pressure. It also just kind of sets you up for different fun things that you can do, different financial goals. And if, they don't work out, it's not like you're going to worry about losing your house. So that takes a lot of stress off the table.
Excellent. Well, let's talk about some of that motivation at the beginning. So it sounds like, Leslie, Mike was interested in this. What did you think of the whole idea when he said, hey, let's pay off our mortgage early?
And Mike and I grew up very differently with money and like how to spend it. So it was
not spend it.
Or not spend it. But just we're complete opposites in like every way. So I thought it was a bit crazy, but I was just like, sure, let's do that. Let's see what we can do. And I just kind of trusted him through that process.
Well, yeah, given the opposites, which I also have in my marriage, just to let you know, were there any times during this 8 years where you're like, I don't think we can keep doing this. This is a little bit too much, Mike?
I don't think so. Honestly, at the very beginning, I had debt when we got married. I had student loans, and we actually paid those off within the first year.
8 to 10 months, I think it was.
Because of what he'd been able to save, and we just paid it off. And I was like, well, maybe we can do this. So there was never any point where we felt that was our only debt besides our mortgage. So we never were strapped for money. We just always put whatever extra we had left over at the end of the month. We just always put towards our mortgage. So it wasn't like we made huge sacrifices. Yeah, at the beginning, it definitely was just a little bit every month, and then that just kept growing and growing as we paid off debt and then cut our monthly expenses. So we kind of did it in a gradual way, and then balls to the wall at the end.
Yeah, the last year we went kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that process, because a lot of people are like, well, how do you pay off a mortgage in 8 years? So let's talk about that. What steps did you take to pay off the mortgage early?
Well, I think you have to back up actually a little bit to pre-college, or kind of just saving, trying to get out of, not that college is for everybody, but I was able to get out of college without any debt. My parents helped. They paid for half my school, and I had to pay for the other half, either through scholarships or whatever. But I basically didn't use student loans to go on vacation on spring break, or if I was home during a break from school, I was working, and I pretty much saved everything I possibly could. And I barely made it out without any debt. I think I graduated with $400 to my name. Made it out, and then just never had a car payment, just paid with cash with everything. And as far as paying off the house quickly. I think the big thing was just kind of like going through our monthly expenses and be like, do we really need this? Like, what is this really for?
Yeah.
Is our life going to be drastically different without it? You know, certain things we kept, certain things were just like that was on the chopping block. So we're both nurses, so we had decent income, but I've also started a few small businesses, kind of working for myself a little bit and kind of supplemented income. We took vacations, like we had fun with our money, but we didn't do anything elaborate. Just kind of did things on a budget, found Airbnbs that were nice but cheap, or did some camping, things like that. So
excellent. So you found a way to, I guess, make this your lifestyle and enjoy what you have. And it seems like from the tone I'm hearing from you guys, it doesn't seem like you're clamoring for a lot more. You don't feel like you're lacking in a lot. And with that access, you've been able to do something wild like this and pay off your mortgage. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I would say like we cut big monthly expenses. One thing that we did was get solar panels on our house, which
So I had a
pays for
house
electricity.
when we got married, and we sold it after I tried renting it out for a year. It didn't really work out, but so we had a bunch of equity, and we put some of that equity into putting solar panels on our house.
Excellent. Well, that's super interesting. How has that worked out for you? So you obviously it's a big investment to do in the first place, but then down the road it seems to pay off. Is that right for you guys?
I think we've at least broken even by this point. So it's been about
5 years.
no, we got them on end of 2014. So end of this year will be 7 years. It probably hasn't quite paid for itself yet, but it's getting there. But considering how much we've saved and being able to put it towards the mortgage, maybe that interest that we saved even things out, or maybe put us a little bit ahead. So, yeah.
Prior to kids, it was paying for all our electricity, and now we use quite a bit more now.
The kids have challenged that. Okay, that makes sense. Very cool. So a combination of living a lifestyle you guys appreciate, looking at areas in your budget to kind of decrease expenses a little bit, and then Mike, you said some small businesses on top of what you've done with both of your salaries. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So I used to race triathlon professionally. So I started a triathlon coaching business through that. Kind of got into race directing a little bit this last year, which was a great year to start race directing. I put a lot of work into it and whatever. But and then I started doing stuff with bourbon barrels about a year ago and upcycled them into different things for the home, garden, and patio. And that has exploded in the last year.
Very cool. So when somebody hears somebody pay off a $165,000 house over an 8-year period of time, they're definitely interested. Like, how much money do you have to make to do that? Do you guys have a general income range you could share that you've been in over that time frame?
It's gone up a little bit every year, but I would say the lowest it probably was 100,000 maybe. And then this last year was our best year. I think we did about 135 to 140.
That's incredible. That's great. Yeah. So, I mean, taking a portion of your income and throwing it at the mortgage each month can make this happen in a lot less than 30 years, a lot less than 15 years. It can happen in 8. So very cool. Well, talk to us about how you guys did you guys do any celebrations or anything like that? I saw an awesome picture. I know that. Tell us about the celebration.
Well, I've been trying to get Mike to let us take a trip.
We're gonna go somewhere. We're gonna go somewhere eventually.
The problem is he's so busy with his barrel business. Like, it's hard for him to take off right now. We also have 2 kids as opposed to one.
One is
a baby. Yeah. So we haven't planned anything yet, but we definitely will in the very near future.
I also have that a race that I'm putting on in Frankfurt this weekend, so I needed to get that behind us. And then after that, I think we would actually be able to do a weekend trip somewhere or something like that.
Nothing crazy.
That's cool. Very cool. And then you guys are going to have a little extra money now that the mortgage is gone. What happens with that extra money? Do you keep this as your lifestyle and put it towards something else, or do you distribute it amongst different things? What are you going to do with the money?
Well, right now we are bursting at the seams in this house. Mike has no workshop or anything. He literally works in our backyard in the garage, our tiny 1-car garage. So we really need more space. We're going to save as much as we can for a really big down payment.
We're going to get another mortgage, basically.
There you go.
But we will pay it off very quickly.
That's incredible. Hey, well, you know what? With rates as low as they are right now, I completely understand that. And I'm sure Mike's going to want to get that mortgage-free feeling again.
Oh yeah,
Eventually.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good feeling.
So right now we're just doing nothing's like terribly wrong with our house, but just doing some like updating and renovations to get it ready for like a renter. Um,
So yeah, we'll
and
keep this house.
Oh,
And
okay.
then,
So you're gonna keep it. You're not gonna sell it. So then
no,
you keep
that's
that as
the
your first
idea.
rental. Okay.
Yeah. So the idea is to eventually, once we get house number 2 paid off, to buy another property as a long-term rental or move out if we want to move and rent that one out, and basically just keep doing that process over and over again until we get about 5 or 6 properties by the time we retire, and that can be our income.
Wow, that is
And then
incredible.
also have like, retirement savings in the mix too, but that's kind of the long-term goal.
I love that plan. That's fantastic. Very cool. Well, cheers to you guys for this wealth building plan. And I always like to think of the person out there because I get a lot of them on YouTube when I talk about paying off your mortgage, and they think it's nuts. A lot of people think this is a waste of money. You could make a lot more in the stock market. What would you say to that person?
I've had a lot of friends tell me that. Actually, you can also lose a lot of money in the stock market, right? But the house isn't going anywhere. It's a physical piece of property that you own, and it's not some. I don't really understand the stock market, really. I just put money in and hope it goes up. But so the fact, if something crazy were to happen, you don't have to worry about losing your house. If you don't have a house, that causes a lot of problems. So it's just kind of a security blanket, if you want to call it that. Real estate is always going up. It fluctuates obviously like the stock market, but it's always going up, and people always need a place to live. So if you can turn it into passive income, I think in the end, it ends up being more beneficial than having money in the stock market. It's personal preference, I guess, to each their own, but that's what I would say.
Absolutely. Well, I completely agree with you. And the way you guys are doing it, too, you are building assets that are going to pay you money in the future with these rental properties. So not only is it a great peace of mind feeling not having a mortgage, but it's also turning into an income stream for you guys. So kudos to you on this plan. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for talking to me today. Let's talk to the person who's listening. They're like, hey, I want to be mortgage free in the future. What is one small step that they could take following this interview?
I would say look at your monthly expenses, because a lot of people have a lot of auto pay things that just kind of happen and they don't even know that they're being paid for.
yeah, that was
So I have very few things on auto pay. And the reason is because I don't want things on auto pay, because they can jack up your rates without telling you. They can, you just forget about it sometimes. So, I probably have like 3 things on auto pay, and that's about it. Everything else I go in and do manually, which isn't really hardly anything really. It's basically our water bill and our electric bill.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much money you can save when you don't have, all these monthly subscriptions, because a lot of people don't even realize what they are paying for every month.
Absolutely. Well, that's incredible. If people want to connect with you guys, ask you any questions, I know you guys are on Instagram, but then Mike, I know you have a business. Do you serve people outside of the Louisville, Kentucky area? And if not, maybe somebody from Louisville, Kentucky is listening.
People do drive. I've had people drive from as far as 6 hours away to pick up stuff.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell us where they can go to check out these bourbon barrels, and what's the website?
So the website is just homeandgardenbarrels.com. Facebook, also just a business page on there. It's Home and Garden Barrels. I can ship stuff, but generally people see the price to ship a barrel. It's a turnoff because it's heavy and big. So it always is actually more expensive than the product itself, pretty much. So.
Well, that's incredible. You know what? If I'll put that information in the show notes, and you know what? If you guys haven't visited Louisville, Kentucky, it is a fantastic city to go visit. It's very youthful and fun. There's lots of great restaurants. It's just a cool place to be. So if you're in town, maybe look up Mike, get one of these awesome
pick up a barrel while you're here.
While you're here. So thank you guys very much for today. This was fantastic. I think we covered a lot of ground and a lot of people learned things. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.